Evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Cone Racing League, where the party is in the city, where the heat is on all night. Getting prefer to it. We are in Miami. I am CRL Freefall, your usual Tier 5 host, here taking the reins in Tier 4, and I'm delighted to say I'm joined by the one and only Mr. Joshua Evans. Josh, are you getting jiggy with it tonight, my friend?
Yeah, hopefully. I hate Miami, but it should be a good watch. We got enough drivers for it to be a bit of a fun one tonight. I'm crap at the track, so not much knowledgeable commentary from me, but just here to help Scott out and have a bit of fun with it.
Hopefully that's what a few of our drivers get the opportunity to try and do tonight. Is of course a newer track to the calendar, round 10 of the season 9 season here, where we're getting into a very, very tasty championship battle. TGT Palmer in the Williams on his outlap, of course, 154 points. He leads by 2 points to the man that isn't here in the McLaren. It's of course Baza now. Prime opportunity for Palmer to try and stretch that lead, but he isn't up there on his own. We have, of course, got the former reserve, now full-time driver in the Alpine, Lozano Sarah, Mrs. Dowill herself, in with a shout, only 30 points adrift from the top of the championship, so it's all to play for as we go into this, the third to last round of the season. Let's jump on board then with King Phi Panda as they take us round the first lap of this qualifying session here around the Miami International Autodrome, as I believe it is known. We're going into turn 6 now, the long left-hander leading in to the tighter left-hander of 7, all about getting a crucial exit here down the back straight, or one of two back straights I should say, into the DRS zone. Prime opportunity to make some moves, to make some overtakes in the race later on this evening, through turns 9 and 10, the little kinks down the straight before into the technical tricky section of this track. Left-hander of 11, right-hander of 12, followed by again another little left-hander of 13. Then it's the infamous chicane. Penalties galore could come through here. Panda taking it very cautiously. You kind of want to cut that almost as much as you can get away with before the near 90-degree corner of turn number 16, down the second of two very, very long straights. Again, another prime DRS overtaking opportunity for the race tonight. 3 corners left to go then. The first of the, or the last of the real true corners, it must be said. 17. This little kink to the left technically is 18, although you are pretty much flat out for the most of it, as you are for 19. Caught as much as that curb, gets 8.6 the first lap on the board tonight, Josh.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's a tricky one to get right on the first go. 28.4 and 28.3 there from Polish Man and Palmer, who've just beaten King Phi Panda on their bankers, but that chicane, weirdly, as much as I don't really enjoy the track, I really do enjoy the chicane, especially if you're on wheel. You can really swing it around, and if you nail it, it's very satisfying. But it's one of those ones where it's really easy to mess up, though. But as everyone's just coming around, finishing their first initial laps or coming into the pits, we've got the 3 on the podium last week, where Bailey won it last week in Abu Dhabi. Glowstick got P2, who's in the lobby as well, and Hervin Lozano, or Lozano Sarah in P3, who took the last spot on the podium. So only 2 of them today. Bailey's out for this week, so his points are going to be stagnant for this week up until the next race. So big opportunity for most of them to gain a bit of an advantage. I couldn't get out my words out then. Get a bit of an advantage and try and leapfrog a bit, especially for Palmer as well, who's very close. I think it's 1 point between the two of them.
Palmer with a 2-point advantage as things stand.
2-point advantage. So it's a big chance for him to get that bit of a lead, because I know Bailey is going to be very consistent throughout the rest of the season with what's left. So it's definitely going to be one where you can't miss out the opportunity to take that leap.
Oh, absolutely. Palmer will be desperate to score maximum points tonight. One man watching from the sidelines, Baza, desperate that he doesn't, and one woman on the track we're currently on board with will be desperate to, after starting out as a reserve, get this title fight maybe going right down to the end. Lozano Sarah currently 30 points adrift from Palmer with 93 available, so it's definitely on the cards for a late title challenge. And don't discount the man we saw do the first lap of the session, King Phi Panda, 34 points adrift 31 available tonight. All it takes is a little bit of mishap on Palmer's part, and they are right up in the battle. Sofian 50 points adrift, still mathematically in the equation, as are two other drivers, Asian and Glowstick. Now, they are just
That
in.
was lovely, by the way, from Lozano there.
Very, very
Really
smooth
nice
through the
through
chicane.
the chicane.
It is, we kind of touched on it earlier on there. It's like, it's a slow section of the track, but you still need to approach it with a bit of pace.
It's slow enough where it's because of the straights on this track, everyone's going to be like battling to go for the lowest wings possible because the straights it's just such a massive advantage, and it's most of the track. But when it comes to them slower corners, all the aero power just gets lifted off the wings because you're not going fast enough for the air to push the car down into the ground. Because that's how the tires work. The tires, obviously, there's no tread on an F1 tire; they're all slicks. So you really need the speed to push the tires down and give you that grip of the tire melting into the asphalt. But because of how slow you're going through that chicane, the car just lifts and that rear just really goes loose. And your turning power gets a bit worse. So when you get to that left-hander onto the last straight, it just really gets a bit tricky. But she nailed it, to be fair. And she's P2 at the moment with a 28.1. Glowstick with a 27.9. And I've been doing a bit of research, and on his Twitter, his PB in time trial is a 26.764. So obviously with it being a real session, the times are going to differ a bit. But it's not too bad. Usually when it comes to TT and sessions, the gap that he's got at the moment to his PB seems a bit right. But with a bit more time cut off, it's looks like he's going to be going for a good little PB in real session for this session.
Absolutely, maybe see that time creep down towards the mid 27s. Just trying to find if there's anybody actually on a flying a lap. Uban's on an in lap. Sarah is on an in lap. I was having a little look at Palmer there. He was getting caught up with a little bit of traffic. I'm trying to say both cars on an out lap there, getting tangled over each other. But Glowstick, we've seen that impressive TT time.
Panda just started now.
Just about to start. Seen get the first lap of the session in. Did the Haas driver, taking us back round once again in this title fight here tonight for the rest of the season, and a good result here around Miami could really boost his chances going into the final two rounds of the calendar. 93 points, of course, as Panda gets towards the end of this first sector here. I do believe it's such an unfamiliar track to me. I'm not even sure where the sectors end, but they are just over 2 tenths better on their first time of the session. That 28.643 going in right at the start, so in for a 28.4 as things stand, but definitely going to be some more time in this lap. A bit cautious through that chicane, which we saw Sarah absolutely nail, was Panda on the banker. Let's ride right on board on the Halo cam and see if they're a bit more aggressive with it. A very, very wide swing on the left.
Yeah. The first apex you don't want to bump over because it just lifts the car too nasty. But the second one, as long as your setup's built pretty nicely, you can really swing it over the apex, and you can carry that narrow line which lets you swing to the right a bit more tastefully. Because with the way he's swinging out to the left and having to come back across to the right to open up the angle for the next corner, it's losing him a bit of time, and he's got to stable up the car before he can get the throttle on. And it's cost him a bit. It's still a good lap. It's a 28.1. It's half a second better than his initial, but it's not competitive when it comes to P1 at the moment. It's still a bit of time he's chiseling off his lap time there. Just a bit stagnant. Just needs a bit more.
A bit more flair,
more push.
A bit more, just a bit more send it and try and see what happens. That second apex, like they're saying, it's not really much of an apex, it's more a bit of a speed hump. There you go, Palmer doing exactly what we're talking about, getting over that hump, holding the car to the right, but he does have a Red Bull in front of him. It might have gave a little bit of dirty air, affected the cornering through that section, but a little bit of slipstream might make up for that here down the run to the final proper corner. Of course, the third last by the numbers, but Palmer...
He needs to get out of the way, he needs to get out of the way.
He is going to get a little bit...
I wouldn't be happy with that.
I wouldn't be either, to be fair. I think we could see a steward's report incoming. It is a 27.818 though, but Palmer maybe feeling he's got a little bit more in the tank.
Probably under braking, yeah, because with a car, obviously you love having a car in front of you on a straight to break the air in front of you, give you that slip, but does the same but in reverse in braking. Where you don't want the air in front of you on a quick straight, you want it on a braking zone. So not having the car pull out of the way and let you take the unfiltered air on is a bit annoying. He's probably lost a bit of time under braking, but it's good if he's doing a 27.8 with an infringement like that in front of him, which is a bit annoying visually and technically. Then it's a good lap. So fair play.
Absolutely. Glowstick's yet to do a second lap here. Mikami looks to be starting a lap. Strangely enough, 20% ERS, so maybe just trying to get a lap in, come into the pits and go for one right at the end, but we'll ride on board with Cam. I think actually he just ended a lap. I've just made an absolute fool of myself. 28.626. I thought he was just on an out lap there. Obviously just on a flyer season goal P9. He's made a few appearances in Tier 3 this season. Had a reasonable couple of races and a couple where he struggled a bit, but right in the mid pack of this Tier 4 grid and a chance for some decent points. Jay Hartnell, who I believe was the Red Bull that got in Palmer's way, has abandoned their latest flying lap, so I'd imagine they'll be coming straight into the pits as we see a few cars as well. Aizen on an out lap, that Ferrari just coming down that second back straight here. We'll get on board with him. The Czech driver, of course, still in this championship hunt, currently in P6, I believe it is, in the standings, 93 points adrift, but still definitely mathematically possible for him. Realistically, it's a different equation, but we won't write him out until he is completely out, just about to start his next flying lap. A 28.323, currently the best he's managed to put on the board. What can the Czech driver put in here as he turns through turn 1 and 2? A couple of cars coming out of the pits in front. Let's hope for no impediment. His teammate just about gets out of the way, does CRL Wuban. Another car there off to the left-hand side. That was tight as toenails, as Mr. Danny Pheasant Plucker would have previously said. End of the first sector then, Josh. What kind of lap time or improvement are we going to see from Aizen? It is 7 thousandths.
Pretty much the exact same sector there. So he's improving on the next two sectors. We have to see how he does. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting one. He's taken out a lot of ERS already. I don't know if that's just because of how much you use in the first section. I don't know if Miami's one of those ones where you need to lift off of the ERS a bit. I'm not sure. It's a good apex though. He's absolutely nailed that. He's not had to do much work to swing it around. Touches the apex. I don't like to do that on the left hand on the straight, but it's worked for him, which is what matters. He's 3/10 down on his time, which is looking really good. He's just got to carry it through the straight now, and he'll probably pick up a bit more time because of his exit was probably better than his last. Turns in for the last corner. Could be a bit tighter to the apex, but it's stable, and that's what matters. Not sure if he's going to get in for another lap, so this one might be the one that needs to count. Clips over the last apex, and it's a little bit better. It's a 28 flat, which makes him competitive for the top 3 spots. But with everyone else being in the pit and him out on track, I think he's going to be rushing back, and I don't think he's going to be able to get a third run in. So I think everyone else has got the opportunity to bite at his hand and take his position. But we'll see. Hopefully for him, it's good enough to keep him somewhat in that fight at the top. But I think everyone's going to be hungry to improve and try and chase Palmer's lead at the moment.
Oh, absolutely. That lead standing at 909 thousandths over Glowstick, still in the pit. The top 2 waiting to come out. Craigo in the McLaren is on a lap. Just to jump quickly across as well, Josh. Somebody called Hobbsy is saying they can't hear you. Out Craigo though. Little inside joke there, folks. If you know, you know. Yeah. Craigo though coming through the technical part of this track. Felt as if he was maybe losing the car there for a second. And over the 2 humps through the chicane. Does take that left inside curb also. And now will maybe have a little bit of a slipstream from the Haas in front. Looking to improve on his 28.792 is Craigo. I've just swapped off him. Very long-standing member of the community here in Cone. Been up and down through various tiers, 3, 4 and 5 of course. Different times. A little bit of contact with the wall on the exit of 17, 18 and 19. All that's left. These 2 little bends up to the line. Does improve by just over 2 tenths and jumps up to P9 does Craigo. I think Panda is just starting a lap. Wuban will just be starting a lap. Dat Roland starting a lap, so it will be Panda the next up to put a competitive lap time in here.
Yeah, just seeing if grid penalty for Sofian. I don't know what I saw, but Panda looked a bit better there, and it definitely was. He's 2/10 clear of his best sector 1 time, so he's looking good to bridge the gap between the top 5. He's going to have to carry it though throughout the next 2 sectors, which will be tricky because I think his last 2 were okay. Obviously in that chicane he's got a bit of time, I think, as well. Nice apex there, getting very close, keeping it tight around this Vietnam-esque corner sector. And that was nice, and that was a lot nicer, a lot more sturdy on the car there. I love that. I love the apex on the left-hander. I don't like clipping the apex. I like to just keep the car flat on the track it's built for. And he swung it around lovely for the straight. So I think he's gonna be improving by quite a chunk here. Maybe even battling for pole compared to his last times with that chicane. But we'll see now. He's just swinging it around the last 2 quote-unquote corners. And it's a 27.8, and it is challenging for first, but it hasn't done the job. Just about sitting behind Palmer about 500ths on his lap. So it's a very good lap. He's going to be there in the fight for the front grid, but we'll see how everyone else fares. Glowstick now 2/10 down on his lap, which would put him pole as well. He's going very quick through the right-hander there. See how he takes the chicane. Oh, that's not good. Not good at all. Needs to get out of the way as well. Tricky one. He's got too happy on the inside apex, trying to swing it around. It looked really good. He was definitely up in his time. I don't think he needed to push that hard though to try and gain the extra little bit of apex and speed. I think if he had just let off and carried that 2/10 advantage and equaled his last sector from his last laps, he would have been a-okay. But yeah, that's him done. So we'll see how far he drops. Lozano also 2/10 up on her time. Let's see how she does around the right-hander. Nice and gentle, no wheel spin like we saw from Glowstick. Lovely apex again. Swings in a little bit late on that one, but she managed it, and she manages it fine. And it works out lovely for the left-hander. It doesn't really infer with the straight line exit. So we'll see how she does now as she comes down the straight. Just the last corner to do. It's a pretty simple corner, nice hairpin. It's a bit of an awkward angle coming out of the steering because you have to put the throttle down as you're turning, which can make the hot rears a bit unhappy, but she's managed it pretty well. Coming across now the last 2 corners again. I think it's on pole. It is on pole. It's a 27.726. And with everyone in the top 6 and 7 finishing their laps, it's going to be hard for anyone to top Lozano Sara now with the current format and grid.
Yeah, Sarah putting in a very, very solid lap time there to go pole. Ross did provisionally hold it, a 27.794, beating out Palmer by just over 200. Palmer invalidating his final run, as I believe that was Massels crossing the line going up to P9. Craigo jumps up to P12 with a 28.581. Wee Kami, one of the last cars to do the flying run, and it looks like, I'm not too sure if he was coming into the pits or he just got a little bit slide there. Wuban also coming into the pits, and that will round off qualifying. Lozano Saro takes the top spot in this session, ahead of Rosso 502 with Palmer in P3. Glowstick down in P5. What could have been if it wasn't for that crunch into the wall? But Panda will be pretty happy with that result. But the top 5, Josh, separated by less than 2 tenths. Around a circuit like this where mistakes can creep in, it's been a pretty consistent and solid qualifying session.
It's a really competitive one. I wasn't sure who was going to take it at the end when it came to Glowstick's era and then going back to Lozano. I think for a good few drivers there, it was definitely on cards, and I think a few will be kicking themselves for late errors. But apart from that, I think you've got to be confident with your pace from a lot of the drivers there. I mean, even down to the bottom 10, 11, it's all within 6 tenths. It's all pretty fair. I mean, when you're translating qualifying pace to race pace, that sort of difference can actually not seem as big when it comes to racing laps, depending on how people fare with DRS and sticking in the train. It's definitely going to be one where you don't want to sacrifice sticking in the train. I think if it comes down to some battles early on, I think people are going to fare better if they just yield a bit and play the long game around a track like this with how long the straights are. But we'll see. I reckon it might get a bit spicy with how tight the first sector is and all 15 drivers trying to take positions. But we'll see who plays the long game and who goes for the short stab.
Of course, as well, this is all in qualifying trim. We'll get this race underway. We could be soft, medium, hard. We could even be wet or intermediate tyres. But crucially, there'll be a full tank of fuel in these cars. There'll be very, very different trim. It is going to be a dry set of tyres to get us underway at the start of this Miami Grand Prix. But going through that first sector, you highlighted it there. It's quite a tight twisty. Turned into Tweety Bird there for a second, mate. It's a very tight and twisty bit of the track when the car's maybe not warmed up to temperature, of course, nor for me. You're strong at full fuel mode in the car, and that jockeying for position, especially if somebody gets a bad start, somebody gets a really good start, could put a spanner in the works. Safety cars, of course, you never like to say they're guaranteed, but they're highly expected to play a part at some point in every one of the races this week, just given the nature of the track. But only 15 drivers here as well tonight. Never a guarantee. That rain could be on the way. We'll wait and see with that, but we do have 29 laps of this Miami International Autodrome circuit. Of course, 19 corners here tonight. I don't know how many to the right or how many to the left. I'll be honest, I haven't counted it, but it is 3.3 miles long, 5.4 kilometres. If that's your way inclined. Let's do a quick little count. It'll not matter anyway. 3 DRS zones, all down the 3 main straights, and that'll be a crucial part for overtaking. Setups, you briefly mentioned there as well, Josh. Everybody going for that battle for the lowest wings. However, slightly higher wings, they might come into play with a little bit of tyre wear. If you can stretch the tyres a bit more, it could give a different strategy. We are expecting hard, medium hard to be the optimal one, but again, anything could happen.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be on softs with how rough the fast corners are swooping in and out. I think the temperatures will just be a bit nasty on the softer compound, so I definitely expect hards or mediums. It'll be important which ones you choose depending on where you are, because if it does break that DRS chain because of the tyres you're on, if you're too slow on the hards, it's going to be rough. But the lights are going out. I'm already on it, so I'll take over. But I think I've got no audio. Oh, it's there now. Sorry, Lozano gets a decent getaway. She seems to be uncontested for the lead in turn 1. The AlphaTauri and the Williams side by side jostling for P2. Seems pretty clean in the front half. Usually it's me covering the back. But what is it like at the back? Do you get any eyes on that?
From what I've seen, that pretty clean. A little bit of jogging position here and there, but everybody looking to make through this pack surprisingly clean. All going one by one through the end of the first sector, and a little mix-up in the strategy here, Josh. You said you wouldn't like to be starting on the softs of this race. 3 of our drivers have Safian, Wee and Jay Hartnell. The rest of the pack mix of mediums and hard. The front 2 on the mediums, the next 4 on the hards. A's in P7,
Ooh.
now in P6 on the mediums, making a move on Dat Roland. The Ferrari getting past the Alpine there, but we're going to jump quickly on board to Palmer and Ross, who are getting very, very tasty through this right-hand section as there's a yellow flag further back for Dat Roland, who's had a bit of a spin. Ross there, almost pushing Sarah around the corners.
Well, it looked like Ross was so concentrated on trying to get Lozano. He was just, every corner, he was just eyeing up that switchback that in the right-hander, he just completely forgot about Palmer, and Palmer nearly stuck his nose up there and managed to jostle for position, but he didn't quite get it done. Ross still looking for the switchback lines. He keeps doing it in every corner. It's not worked to his liking so far, but he's getting very, very close. They're both on mediums, so if there's no safety cars, which I'd be surprised with how close the walls are on this track, Harry's going to do very well to see. He's going to be loving seeing Ross fight in Lozano, because every time that they go side by side in front of him, it means more track time and more chance for him to stick within that DRS. He's that close that he could even push Lozano for position at the moment, but I think if he's on those hards, take advantage of their medium runners for now. He's going for it. He keeps going for it. I think if he's on equal tyres, he looks like he's got the pace on the 2 of them, but I think he just needs to calm down, keep his position, let Lozano catch back up to Ross in a bit more secure time, and then he can just ride the back. and get all the way to the end, and hopefully no safety cars to put a spanner in the works for him, but he's doing alright.
Ross looking very, very good there on on those medium tyres, getting past Lozano. Lovely move through the first couple of corners and absolutely hit the nail on the head there with Palmer. The long-term strategy, if it's a green flag race right to the end, it's playing tremendously into his hands. And also Glowstick and Panda to a degree. Panda 1.8 seconds adrift of the nearest car, but did make a move on Aizen there for P5. This battle heating up between himself, Aizen, Polishman, and Craigo. Sofian also in that mix as well. Then a little drop off. We've essentially got three DRS trains here already.
We've got contact between Wuban, Mazzles, and I think it's Jay Hartnell. I'm not too sure who it was, but I think it was Wuban just went a bit too deep in the final corner, clipping Jay Hartnell, spinning him around. And because of that, I think Mazzles has taken damage on his front wing because of it. One of them's got damage, I'm not sure which one it is. It might be the Ferrari, actually, by looking at it. Oh, we got another spinner as well. Bloody hell, that gave me a bit of a jump scare then. Polish man around.
Polish man losing it through turn number 4. Maybe just a little bit too much rotation. Maybe a bit of contact. Answers on a postcard. We'll find out at one point. Aizen is looking pretty tasty for a move back on King 5 Panda. But I'm going to jump away from that very, very quickly because here comes TGT Palmer trying to go around at the outside of this left-hander. Has to just settle back in behind as we go round the next right-hander. I think that was a left-hander I said was a right-hander. Through the chicane then. Next, almost a big moment from Palmer, but does well to hold the car steady and straight and trying to get a good exit now down this back straight. Those mediums just biting in that little bit better. Yellow flags further back once again, Josh. That looks to be Mazzles maybe suffering with the damage, and it is a virtual safety car on lap 3.
This is probably a blessing for Lozano because she, at the end of that chicane, she was pushed out of DRS by Ross. It was very close, it was marginal. It was literally a couple of thousandths, but that's all it takes for the difference there. So hopefully, for her, she can try and sneak back into the 1 second period.
A chance to maybe get a good restart here when we do go back to green flag racing. And like you say, jump back into that period. It's also a chance for her to save up a bit of ERS. Lozano Sara very, very low at this early stage of the Grand Prix. And Glowstick, he's not had much said about in the early end of this race. And we're holding about nice, and maybe a chance for him to capitalise and jump up and try and really bite in and just hold along with this train. Letting a little bit of time build up there and accelerating through. A few cars into the pits. Polish man we saw have the spin, Jay Hartnell have the spin, and Mazzles have the spin, so they are all in. Fresh mediums for Polish man, fresh hards for Hartnell, and I believe Mazzles going on the mediums. But we are back to green flag racing, and Lozano Sara, it must be said, has had a brilliant restart.
Yeah, she's really nailed it. She's from being just out to now being comfortably in where she's having to lift off, not to take the position.
Palmer, though, not going to just let this train fall away in front of him, all over the rear of that Alpine there. And you can just see how much more of these curbs he's using, and that little bit of time that it's gaining. A good exit here, and it could be a chance using a bit of his ERS now. He's been talking about how he's trying to improve that ERS management throughout the races because his one lap pace has been excellent in recent weeks. Really tight to the rear of the Alpine. Sara defending to the left for a brief second and realising that the move isn't going to happen. Further back, Aizen getting a move on King 5 Panda for P5 as a front pack go through the final couple of corners on the rundown to the end of lap 4.
Panda's sticking his nose up to the left hand side of the final corners then, and it looked a bit ropey. I think Aizen lucky not to swing to the left because it would have been a bit of trouble for both of them. But they're looking alright now, stabilising a bit until we get back to the DRS, where we might see some position swaps depending on how close Panda stays with the Ferrari. But at the moment, a little less ERS in the tank for Aizen, so it's going to benefit the cars behind trying to follow. And also with Panda being on the harder compound, it's like same with Palmer, it's going to kick in later in the race. But again, Lozano's kind of getting close to gapped by Ross on the same tyres. She's staying in purely by the DRS ball looks of it, because he's chopped that 2/10 difference from last lap all the way back down to close to 1 second. So she really needs to nail these last sectors here to stick within and manage that all the way to the end. Harry Palmer, though, very comfortable on the hards behind the two of them, so he's doing very, very well on the straights.
Yeah, a solid job. He's pushing this car as much as he can on these hards, you know, really
Glow stick
nullifying
too.
that compound discount and glow stick. Yep, exactly. Only half a second adrift from Palmer, and slowly actually catching up here and doing a great job of ERS management as the young Scotsman. With 60 odd % compared to some of the cars in front. Here comes Palmer though, having a little look down the inside into turn 17. The two little bends of 18 and 19, but Sarah tucking back in front. DRS for all three of Palmer, Sarah and Glowstick. The two TGT drivers running behind the Spanish French women of the league. Mrs. Dewell, we do love that pairing. Just kind of waffling on there for a second, Josh. I didn't know really where I was going with that, but we'll keep riding on board through this first sector. It's one of the talents. They are the little train behind. I'm not too sure what's happened there, but a bit of a gaps forming to some of the cars.
Yeah.
Maybe just using those medium tyres to pull out that little bit of a gap. Palmer, though, trying to get ahead of this gap and make a move on Sarah once again into this left-hander. Very late on the brakes is the Williams driver.
Nailed it.
And he's done it to perfection.
Nailed it. Very good. Now, I'm not too sure. Last time I done Miami was a team event months and months ago. I don't even think it was on this generation of the game. But I'm not too sure how long it takes for those mediums to start wearing, because he's doing so well on the hards. I don't know if they put it down to tyres or to his own talents, because he's doing extremely well for the harder compound, and he's that close now with Ross already that it looks like he could even be making the move on the pit straight. But I think if he waits and waits for the second DRS straight, he's gonna be able to get away and potentially break the DRS and race on his own. But it depends how he's doing, because he's not got too much battery, but he's got enough that makes him more than the two that he's battling, apart from Glowstick, obviously, who's managing it really well for the position he's in. But yeah, I think if Harry can make a move here, he's got a chance to carry his pace through the twisty section and just gap it. He's doing very well, to be fair to him.
There's a reason he's leading this championship and right up in the mix, and it's because he does have some genuinely good pace. I do believe the mediums, it'll instruct you, I believe it is about 12 to 14 laps is generally what the game, it'll sort of default to 12 laps on the mediums. Palmer, though, switching to the right hand side. I thought for a second we were going to see a bit of a Red Bull incident in Azerbaijan.
It was a bit late from the AlphaTauri, I'll be honest. He's managed to make it work though, but he's kept that gap a bit tighter for Ross, which is something he's going to be happy about. But yeah, that could have been a lot worse than it was.
It did look very reminiscent of the course for Verstappen and Ricciardo incident in Baku all those years ago that I thought were in for maybe the first proper safety car there for a brief second, but Palmer is into the lead. Glowstick now using advantage of that additional ERS, he's managed to save and sails past Lizana Sarah. Sarah, though, having a look down the inside, thinks better of it and just allows Glowstick to hold that position. Maybe now we're going to have to try and tuck in and hold on to these hard runners.
The straight line speed from in the first portion of the straight, the initial traction he didn't lose any time at all with the DRS. It's quite interesting. He only lost about 2/10 at the end of the straight, which I believe Ross was using battery to help him. So I think definitely Palmer's looking at a much lower wing setup than some of the drivers behind him. Glowstick could be using something similar too, because the way they're managing the hards with the straights is very, very good. For the hard compound, they're looking really solid for lap 8. Glowstick's going for a move himself, I think, by the looks of it.
Yeah, he's looking to have a run
a bit closer
on Ross here. Sarah dropped out of that DRS, those mediums maybe coming out, but Ross having a little look down the inside on TGT. Palmer, Glowstick though, sensing an opportunity, almost dives for that apex and almost sticks his nose right on him here. Maybe a chance on the exit of this left-hander after the chicane if he can hold it steady, but Palmer not fully out of the woods yet. He has still got these two within DRS range, and particularly Glowstick with that extra DRS, and Ross with just the pace he's showing. Sarah maybe just creeped inside that DRS, although looking at the times,
speed from Glowstick.
falling out. Glow Stick is going to go side by side into turn 17, makes the dive up the inside, and the Alfa Romeo is ahead of the Alpha Tauri.
He needed that. With them both being on the hards, he couldn't risk having Ross be the decider, and he's going for a move straight away on the main straight, sending the inside. It's going to turn to the outside partially, and I think Harry's going to benefit from it, but it goes back to the inside because of how twisty it is, and he takes a position. Harry, if I was Harry, I wouldn't be fighting back for this. I'd want to stay behind. I don't think he wants to be ahead, and I think he's made the right choice there, backing out on the outside, because he's going to get the benefit of that DRS. And if I was these guys, they just need to play leapfrog now. They want to forget about the medium runners, because they're going to be faster than them naturally based on degradation. But if these two just happily let each other overtake on the DRSs, they can leapfrog and just get a gap that secures them both P1 and 2, and then when it comes to the end, they can decide to squabble and take the risks there when they've already got the gap. But for now, just need to play the long game, hope for no safety cars, and build that gap and take advantage. They're both getting a bit wobbly on the rears though. Harry's rear's nearly actually clipping the wall there as he's coming across the apexes for the chicane, but he managed to keep it safe. But I think Glowstick might not go for a move on this one. He's had a bit of a poor exit onto the straight, but he's going to be close enough to challenge again on the next two, I think.
Absolutely. Again, that DRS assistance will pull that gap right on tight up. Cammy making a move down in P12 on Polishman. I think Polishman or Safine, one of the Aston Martins, having a little bit of a spin through the tail end of the first sector. Look how close Glowstick is to the rear of the Williams of Palmer. Glowstick going to the left hand side. That'll be the outside for turn 1, and in fact he doesn't even need turn 1 to make the move, but Palmer having a little fight back, sensing a bit of a gap down in the apex. That's going to turn back to the inside for turn number 3. These two squabbling, losing a bit of time, and now Ross right on the tail of both of them as they come through the final part of this first sector. Rosso a little bit hesitant to turn in, loses a little bit of time and falls back off once again, and Zahara still holding in on this battle. All four of them not really caring for the long-term implications here, Josh, just going all guns for leather to try and get that track position.
The medium runners, basically everything I've said about the hard runners sitting behind earlier, it's just reversed on its head now, and the mediums need to do that on their dying tyres. So if they... Ooh! Sorry. I for some reason I thought the AlphaTauri was a bit too close there from Lozano's POV. But yeah, if the medium runners can now just hitch a ride until their pit stop, they'll gain a bit of an advantage on the guys behind, because they're gonna have to worry about them if it comes to undercuts. But yeah, I mean, I've never heard of TGT, but what an advert it is for them after signing these two. I mean, they're putting on a hell of a fight here between the two of them. I'm just curious to see how it goes. I really can't think now of which one of them is going to come out on top, because obviously we've got Glowstick, who's managing the ERS better, but Harry Palmer managing to keep track position for the most part where it's important, and that is when it comes over the line. Because Glowstick at the moment, his favourite place to overtake is on this main straight, and I think if he switches it up, a bit of a slide there on the rears, they might have to change the brake bias for him. When it comes to the end of the race, if he chooses to make that his overtaking position, it's going to leave him with a harsh job to get it done before the line comes creeping up towards him on the last lap. So I think he needs to figure out what he's doing, because when it comes to that last lap again, he's going to need to do it earlier and save his himself getting overtaken by Harry on the last straight himself.
Yeah, absolutely. The finish line on this circuit, of course, right in the exit of the final corner, just basically in line with the pit limit. The pit limit line, it must be said. Palmer, there you go, just like you said. Glowstick makes a move into turn 1. Palmer retakes it down the back straight and holds it. Jay Hart, a retirement on track, and that is a full safety car.
Ooh, that's not good for the hard runners. Not good at all. Bit early for you to be going on the mediums. They're going to have to. They have their hands forced a bit, but them medium runners are loving it. They're going to be able to get onto the hards at a perfect time for them, and they're not going to lose much position for it. So definitely brought in Lozano, Ross, even Aizen. Even though Aizen was dropped a bit back from the rest of them, with a safety car, Aizen's going to be brought right back into the mix. Panda as well, but obviously being on the hards is not going to be very nice, having to go with the mediums for about 17-18 laps. They're not pitting. Very interesting.
Bold call from the two TGT drivers, one in the Williams, one in the Alfa Romeo. Yeah, maybe just feeling it's going to be too long to stretch out. Maybe going to try and stretch out these hards. Now, crucially though, they're going to have such a disparity in the tyre life, the tyre pace,
Yeah.
to those on the fresh hards behind them. It could cost them in the long run, but maybe thinking their best chance is to hold out for a later safety car. But of course, if nothing else comes out, then it's...
Yeah, I think even in the long run, I think pitting benefits you, because at least you get to take that advantage of the fresher tyres and the softer compound being the mediums. At least then they can guarantee that they can stay ahead. And because no matter what you do, if you pit or you don't pit, you're hoping for a safety car because you're not on the desired strategy anymore. So if you're thinking of it that way, you may as well jump in the pits, keep your position, not lose anything, and take the fresher tyre anyway, and get rid of the required stop. Because worst comes to worst, you can stretch them, or you can pit at the end for softs if you're lucky with another safety car. But I think they've just put themselves at quite a disadvantage now, and it's going to be tricky.
Absolutely, I wholeheartedly agree with everything you've said there. You think about it, they would have came out in 1 and 2 on fresh mediums with their nearest rivals all on fresh hards. But these two boys have been the quickest of the drivers, I would say, by the looks of things. Whether it's in ERS management or with just pure pace, they've been able to make overtakes and make moves relatively carefree and been battling with each other more than any other two drivers had. They've got good pace here. Those fresh mediums, they could have built that gap like we were thinking they would maybe do on the hards. And then if there isn't a safety car, well, it's less time for them to gain at the end of the race if they do need to make another pit stop, or it's a bigger buffer if they don't pit once again. Rest of the field then quickly. The next three onto the fresh hards. Panda onto fresh mediums. Wee Cami, 3 lap old mediums for the Mercedes driver. Craigo on fresh hards. Polishman, we've seen, has been in the wars. He's an 8 lap old mediums, going to try and stretch him out a little bit. Sophie in 2 lap old mediums. Verona Flash, the fresh mediums. Mazel's on 8 lap old mediums. Again, another driver been through the wars. And 2 at the back on hards. 2 laps for Dat Roland and 0 laps for Wuban. So a nice 50-50 split, if my maths is correct. Nope, for one off of that. However, it'll be a good battle maybe again once in the midfield. But all eyes on these front two. Palmer, this could be the decision he maybe rues if the championship doesn't go his way. Of course, we don't know how the rest of the race is going to plan out. We still have got 16 laps of racing here in Miami. And I believe, Josh, the safety car should come in at the end of this lap. I may be wrong.
Yeah, definitely. No, it should. It's had them picked up for a whole lap already, so they should come in without issue as long as someone in the spin, and miraculously takes half an hour to get back up into the queue. But yeah, should be done. Jay Hartnell obviously being the DNF that caused the safety car. Not too sure what actually happened with him, but it was very early on in the lap in the first sector, so we'll have to see if that was inferred by any zone, but we'll see. Yeah, I'm interested. It's going to be tricky because of how quick Palmer and Glowstick were on the, I wouldn't say the worst tyre, because obviously the hards do come into fruition later on the lap, but for how well they were doing at the start of the race, when mediums were definitely the better choice on Delta, they held pace extremely well. So I think if they had gone to them fresh mediums, they would have been able to gap the other two miraculously, unless maybe it was a temperature issue for the medium res, and it might be a bit better now because of the less fuel with us being 13 laps in, but we'll see. But yeah, 6 cars in this lap, so I'll let you take over. I'm just curious to see how it goes. It might be a bit iffy. We'll see how the order
we'll see how it
turns out.
Plays all out. Yeah, if you're tuned in with us this far, I wouldn't go anywhere anytime soon. Palmer going to restart us here. He did back up the pack a nice little bit, but gets racing on the exit of the final corner, turn number 19. Mazel seems to have had a little bit of an issue further down the pack, but the first pack coming through into turn 1. Ross is looking to mount an attack on Glowstick really early, and there just shows you what an advantage fresh tyres are. 11 laps younger are the hards of Ross, Lozano, Zara and Aizen versus Glowstick and Palmer, and Glowstick has already been dispatched through the first turn by the Alpha Tauri. Ross then now we're looking to zone in to Palmer, but the two of them coming together, Glowstick and Ross, into turn number 7, I believe that is. And that could have massive ramifications on this race here, George.
Yeah, Ross was clear of Glowstick, so that's definitely going to fall on the issue of the Alfa Romeo, so that's not going to be fun for Ross at all. He had obvious pace advantage with the tyres. It's given Harry Palmer a bit of a lifeline. He's gapped about 1.5, 1.7. He's apexing nicely, but before you was talking, in that left-hander where Ross got clipped, you could see the massive difference in the initial traction that Ross had compared to the other two. And Lozano should have it as well. Obviously on the straights, we've seen Harry's been pretty good, so he should fare fine there. But when it gets into the twisty corners, Lozano should have a massive advantage. He's not taking much of the track to the right there, and that is because Wee Cammy is very close on the rear of her car. I did not expect to see that. I thought she was just taking a bit of a cautious line, but she had a Mercedes right up there, and I think Cammy's looking very aggressive to try and make a move. And no, that's not happening. He's used all his battery there in the initial lap, and he's just made contact with the Ferrari of Aizen, and he's in the war. That's not very good driving from Wee Cammy there. Very risky for the drivers around him. That was a bit of an issue.
Okay. Those that watching saw there, I think a little bit of peer-peer connection or some sort of lag with Ross there. I saw him slam into the wall and then actually teleport up the road. But Wee Cammy there, yeah, he's burnt. He's still burning that ERS. He's on 0% ERS.
What ERS? What you got, man?
it's fully gone.
Basket's empty.
Yeah, overcooking the move into turn 1 ever so slightly. He is still defending, and he's getting his elbows out, shall we say. An old saying I used to use, well I still use to be fair, oh my god. He's parking that more than, I don't even know where I'm going to go with that analogy. Cammy, you've actually somehow done it, you've got me lost for words, my friend.
Lozano's making the move.
Yeah, let's jump on board to the action up front then. Lozano Zara making the move into turn 17, goes down at the inside of TGT Palmer and moves up into P1 there. Palmer, you can see, getting a little bit loose on the exit. Here comes Aizen now as well, on the same tyre life as Zara. DRS going to be now enabled, and that could be the only lifeline that Palmer has if he's going to try and keep with this pack. Yellow flags. Cammy needs a yellow card at this rate.
Cammy fried us.
He really truly has. I'm just jumping back on board him there because the gap was getting very close between him and Ross, and I saw Ross having an absolute fish supper, tank slapper, and almost making contact with the rear of the Mercedes. Yeah, Cammy's really set the fuse alight for this restart. Aizen, though, jumped quickly back on board with him. He's going to have the DRS assistance and using a little bit of DRS as he needs to try and get the move on Palmer. A little bit of wheel bang there from the two. Palmer has burnt through his ERS pretty early compared to the first stint and does drop down into P3. Zara, though, just creeping outside DRS range.
Yeah, she's really taking advantage of the fighting going on. Harry doesn't want to fight this. Harry needs to keep Aizen. Ooh, Cammy's out. It's a full safety car. Harry Palmer's eyes just lit up as he saw the yellow cards around the track. Yeah, so he's been bailed out there. He's only lost 2 positions for his troubles, but if he had gone on the mediums, maybe he would have been able to stay out and stretch them. But now, without doubt, he's got to jump in the pit. Same with Glowstick. Obviously, Glowstick being a pit stop behind because of his contact with Ross and facing damage. But oh my god! For some reason, I thought Palmer hadn't pit then, but he has, thankfully. If he didn't pit there, I would have finished. I would have left you on your own. But he's made the right choice.
Yeah, there's quite a few following in to the pits. Also, Panda, Safian, Verona, Flash, and Posh. Posh, that's you. Polish
that's
man,
me.
Not Posh man. All following suit into the pits. Fresh mediums for the lot of them, relatively to be expected. Of course, Palmer now going to find himself in P7 on this restart, but with the softer of the two compounds and a little bit more life in them, they're definitely going to be able to go to the end. Interesting take though, Mazzles is gambling on the sauce.
They ain't making it. Not a chance.
And we did see now at the
They're
start
going
of
to
the
be
race.
very, very rough at the end.
Yeah, we did see a car go 9-10 laps. Obviously, that was with a full tank of fuel. That's a really hard sentence to say when you're Scottish, by the way, folks. Try if you are.
Purple burglar alarm.
Purple burglar alarm. It doesn't really matter though, because I've just realised that Mazzles does have a drive-through penalty, however. So no matter what, he is out of contention. So maybe he's just going to try and sneak the fastest lap. Well, he's got a chance and hope for a later safety car to try and bring him back in this race. Glow stick then in P11. Just shows you how quick things can change in racing. The top two down to P7 and P11. Very different reasons, of course. And just on the yellow and red cards, Cammy's been given his marching orders, and he is gone from this race and the lobby.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. Pendulum now swings back into Palmer's favour. It would have done for Glowstick as well if he didn't get a bit too greedy on the apex of the left-hander in sector 1. But Harry's going to have to navigate trickily through some drivers that aren't going to be too fond of just letting him through. There obviously no teammates ahead of him. It's all separate teams now, and that Roland, if anything, has got his part to play when it comes to Lozano being her teammate. Full time now, obviously, since she's no longer reserved, so she's Alpine full time. So, if anything, that Roland has got just the same as Lozano's efforts to try and push away and not let him through. So we'll see how that goes, but it's fully in his hands again now. He's got the better tyres. It's not too far of a race left to go. It's about 10-11 laps by the time we come in. So he's really going to have to push past and make Lozano and Aizen his priority to get back up to. Craigo in P3 as well. But obviously pace disparity that we've seen through racing conditions, Aizen and Lozano are definitely his biggest competition. Ross as well. I expect Ross will do his best to push past Craigo pretty early on in these opening laps since this safety car comes in. But we'll see. It's going to be tricky, but pretty fast.
Yeah, it's going to be a fast 10 to 11 laps we're going to have at the end of this Grand Prix. And crucially for Palmer, like you're saying, he's got to make it through this field, but he's got to make it through safely. We've already seen a few bits of contact here tonight, and as this race gets to the business end, there's going to be maybe a little bit less gap given, a little bit less, I'll just let you by and I'll get you back later. It's going to be a sprint right to the end, potentially here, because there is no guarantee that another safety car could come out and change the race on its head. This could be us right until the checkered flag here tonight. Palmer in that P7 got a lot of work to do. Dat Roland, like you say, will he help his teammate, the two Alpines running in P1 and P5? Will he make his car into a wide brick wall and try and hold up the medium runners behind? We'll find out very, very shortly, as we are about to get back on the green flag racing. Wuban as well.
Helping Aizen, potentially.
Of course, yeah.
Did they just switch around positions, by the way? Because I thought that Roland was ahead of Wuban. Ahead of Palmer. Were they switched? Or am I talking shit?
I think
Waffle, sorry.
Yeah, I think you're talking Waffle. Back then to green card racing, as it's now going to be colloquially known, and Lozano does get us underway. Azan getting a decent start compared to Craigo behind us. Palmer is making the first of his moves, but that is because Wuban has went almightily deep or almightily squiggly through turn number 1. That's a new technical term for you as well, folks. Squiggly through the corners. Palmer then on the get jiggly with it on the rear of Dat Roland coming through this first sector. He's going to have a little bit of ascent as Dat Roland just exits stage right by the looks of things and leaves the door wide open, but Palmer already up 2 positions into P5 and is really on a march here. Using a lot of the ERS, however, you kind of expected that to happen.
Yeah, he's got to bridge that gap of the second just to make sure he gets safely within DRS, because as long as As long as he can stop the DRS, he's got a chance. Oh, he's hit the wall there. Don't think he's going to get damaged, but he's got to be careful, because if he does it again, he can take it from excessive battery to the front wing. But Craigo's lost a bit of time to Aizen, which isn't going to help Palmer in the long run. He's going to have to bridge that gap. But I think tyre difference, he'll be able to do it as long as he can get past Ross and Craigo pretty soon. It's going to have to be done pretty early on in this campaign, this 10-lap campaign. But I think if he can get past these two, whoa, Jesus Christ! I nearly turned Geordie, but got very close to the back of the AlphaTauri there. Nailing the braking zone. You could either say nailing or taking a bit too much risk, but he got line there as well to try and keep behind. But I think Harry's through. I don't think the contact's due to Harry, so I think he's safe there, and I think he's safely ahead of the AlphaTauri as well. But yeah, just the McLaren to go now until he can be fighting the people who he's been intending to since lap 1. Getting very close on the braking again. It's making me nervous with how much of a advantage he has under braking. But he's to be fair, he's right on the limit. He's really walking the line nice and gently.
Yeah, you can tell he's pushing every ounce of pace and using every millimetre of the track available to him here to try and catch up and pass these cars and really get up into this battle for the lead. He has a little look around the outside at the gap there, closing out on him. Craigo doing a brilliant job to defend, it must be said, and maybe getting a little bit of a backhand pocketer from Izan and Lozano Sara here, but takes a very slow line for the chicane. Almost contact there between the two.
It's a good exit there.
Very, very good exit though, and Palmer is going to try and get this move. Set himself in a little bit of a compromising position here, maybe going into turn 17. Look at these cars behind as well, the two Haas getting really, really jiggy with it.
I don't understand that.
Oh, there's coming together there.
Harry's been blessed.
I thought for a second that was Harry involved, and it is going to be VSC, caused by the collision between Ross and Craigo. Craigo into the pits then. A little bit blazed by that, in a way. It's going to be damage limitation, but Palmer, I bet you he panicked for a second there.
Why did he go around the right? I don't get it. He had the perfect exit to take the inside. It's worked out for him in the end because of unforeseen circumstances, but I don't get why he chose the outside there. Because you're leaving the inside driver to take his line as he wishes without having to care about you. It was very, very interesting because he definitely could have made the move and pushed his elbows out to take the track and push off the other driver, but I don't know, weird choice after. I don't understand it, but made it work, which is what is important, and he's got the two biggest issues ahead of him now to chase down. Sector 1 yellow flag again for McLaren. I think it's Craigo, and it is having a bit of a spin. No damage by the looks of it. Oh no, there is damage to his wing, sorry, but I don't think it was from that contact or that spin, so he's going to be coming into the pits. But apart from that, Harry Palmer catching very close to the front two now.
I wonder if Craigo just getting caught out by that, having to set your wing change to yes here. He is losing a little bit of time, of course, because Aizen is going to gain up on Zara with the DRS. Palmer obviously not having it, but look how much he's gaining out of turn 17. He's really confident on that throttle, and even gap in the car behind him on the same tyre strategy in the form of King 5 Panda, who's maybe in with a decent shout of a podium here tonight. Of course, keep the championship hopes alive for himself going into these final two rounds. But Palmer well up into that DRS range. Glow stick on his recovery drive is getting very tight to the back of Polish man. We'll maybe jump across to that. In fact, I think we will, because he is getting very, very tight through this first sector and carrying a lot of speed, despite being on slightly older mediums.
Back from Harry.
Palmer though, yep, making the move on Aizen. I didn't even see that coming, it was that good.
The Ferrari took a bit of a wobble in the corners coming towards it, so his full safety car.
It's a full
This is big. Car. Look at him. Look at the wobble from Harry Palmer. You can tell he's annoyed. He's really put a spanner in the works. I think it's got to be soft.
It's got to be.
Yeah.
It's going to be lap 25 before we get racing at the earliest.
Yeah, everyone else is on 5-lap old, at least 5-lap old mediums, at the best. So I think if you're going to lose a few positions, you do it for the straight line speed that them softs are going to give you on the exit. Just jump in, I think. Take the risk. Bailey did it last week in Abu Dhabi, or the week before, if there was a break, I'm not too sure. But Glowstick was in the same predicament. He stayed out at this point and didn't pit, and Bailey did for the softs. And Bailey made an almighty charge back to the front of the field on the soft tyres. So I think it's the right choice, especially if everyone else does it. Harry stayed out, and so is Lozano. Aizen stayed out, so is Panda. Okay. That takes away the risk now, because everyone stayed out. There's not really much risk or excitement now, because they've all done it. But if some of them would have pit, it would have been fun. But it's just going to be the same race again. But Harry gets to come very close to Lozano with the safety car coming out now.
I mean,
I
you
wish
say
some
that,
of them would have pitted though.
Verona
They
Flash, Glowstick,
Yeah.
and Ross, Uban, all the back part,
Glowstick will
throwing the
be
dice.
interesting.
Yep, that's exactly what
Ross,
I'm thinking.
yeah.
He's showing some mighty pace until that incident with Ross earlier on in the race. Ross, of course, as well was up there until that very same incident. So don't discount those two at all. So the back.
I'm surprised Lozano didn't pit with the 11 lap old hards. She would have only come out what 7th, same as Harry, but on even better tyres. She would have just one-upped him with a Uno reverse card, but no one's decided to do it.
I'm a bit surprised. I'm surprised as well. I think it is the case if Lozano had done it, maybe quite a few of them would have done it. Panda, they are getting very out of shape on the exit of that left-hander. I think there was almost contact between himself and Sofian. Just completely losing the car, spinning full 90 degrees around to the left. Luckily for him, it was under the safety car, but it's never a confidence building sign to see something like that, it must be said. But we are still going to be under safety car for the next lap, of course, as we have yet to complete a lap. Craigo, Mazzles and Wuban all still to catch up. I'd be surprised if Mazzles doesn't pit. I think Craigo definitely will. He's done the old strategy of go out on the inters and save the tyre life.
Catch though.
Yeah, that's the only thing. I think he's struggling that much on the inters. Or, I mean, it is looking a bit grey. Has this been a big brain strategy call?
Oh, who's in the pits? Oh, I thought it was Lozano then. Dat Roland comes in the pits late to take a fresh set of softs. Completely off topic, by the way, but something that just caught my mind as we was going through the safety car lap. Imagine driving on the motorway and you see a bunch of F1 cars beneath you just crashing or racing. Surely that's a health hazard. Like, if I was on a motorway and I saw Daniel Ricciardo going around the left-hander, I wouldn't be looking at where I'm going. I'd be looking at that.
Now, just on that as well, Josh, imagine you're on the motorway and you see Dat Roland come in for a set of intermediates. Is rain on the way here? Is this maybe why we've seen some gambles?
Taking a massive advantage. It's either rain, or because he knows Craigo's not going to catch up before it comes in, that he's taking the risk to go on inters, save his last set of fresh softs, and put even less wear on them to make him more of an advantage at the back. It's one of the two, and both excite me. But rain would be very fun.
Rain.
And if it is rain, the people on softs are going to take a massive advantage in the transitional period.
Oh, absolutely. Those tyres are going to heat up so much more easier. They're going to grip in so much better. And we could see the likes of Verona Flash, likes of Glowstick, but maybe even the likes of Dat Roland really charge through this field. We saw it in Tier 3 and first tonight. Dry tyres on a wet track, and it made for some racy conditions right at the end. Could we see history repeat itself? And this time at the Miami Grand Prix, of course, see it once again here in Tier 4. Craigo still yet to catch up with the pack, so I think
Roland needs that. He needs him to stay back.
Of course, the longer that he takes to catch up, the longer we could be out in the safety car. I believe it will come in at the end of this next lap, however, regardless, and that could be the difference between the rain falling. But it's not just about the rain falling, Josh. It needs to fall heavy enough. We'll wait and see with that. But the Florida rain season could be well in effect for us very, very soon. and that could play havoc out
It
front
is getting
as
dark.
well. The
Now you
track as
said it, I've
well, it's
noticed
looking
it.
a bit, not greasy, but it's just looking a bit different. Mazel's into the pits. I assume we're going to see some green stripe enters on that Alpha Tauri. Are they rolling the dice? Find out
Either
in
that or
just a
softs.
second. Yes, they are.
Taking it. Inters. Oh, it is wet then. It's actually going to go wet. Ooh.
If you tuned in this far, you don't want to go anywhere, folks. 4 different tyre compounds on the cars
Look at
at
it.
this stage of the Grand Prix.
Looks like a pack of fruit pastels. There's every tyre on a big track at the moment. It's crazy. It's not even a drop of rain yet, and we got 3 people on Inters. I'm very curious because they needed to start chucking it down very, very soon. Otherwise, them Inters are gonna burn up and turn into slicks within 2 sectors.
Well,
Bailey in the chat, by the way, up in the soft runners after his charge through the field last week. Was it? Did they go racing last week, or was there a break week? I can't remember.
They did. They were racing around
They
the
go
British
racing?
Grand Prix.
Oh, sorry, it was a week before then.
The week before in
Abu
Abu Dhabi, yeah. I was about to say Bailey had a bit of a poor scoring week last week, and a little bit of a dent in the title
rain.
challenge, but
I
still
really
up
hope
there.
Mazzles didn't pit thinking he can pit again next lap. I hope not.
I think he generally rolled the dice on the rain coming, and it does look like it's about.
Oh my
to
god,
come.
it's here! It's here! The rain is here.
So,
Oh shit.
4 laps left of on-track racing here in Miami. 2 cars on hards, 4 on mediums, 4 on softs, 3 on inters, and the rain is falling here in Miami. You could not write a better ending to this script.
This has been a very fun race. Standards has been awesome. There's been a few incidents, but apart from that, the racing's been pucker. It's been awesome. I'm just curious to see how these inters do. The soft runners are going to do brilliantly out the gates. The hard runners are going to really struggle when it gets wet, and you can see Lozano already under pressure from Palmer on the mediums. Yellowed already. That's Craig with the back.
Oh,
yeah.
I
don't know how this is going to play out. Anyone can win this.
Well,
I don't know about the top 6, but
it could be any of them. Glowstick has got the move on Verona Flash. We're riding aboard then with Palmer doing the biggest rain dance that you ever did see, and hoping that this absolutely starts to chuck it down. It is falling here in Miami, but is it going to fall quick enough for them? We'll wait and see.
Glowstick sniffing diffuser at the moment, really trying to get past the Astons here. He's got the tyre advantage, he's got the braking advantage, but with the weather always getting very dicey between them all in P7, but he gets around the outside with a bit of a bash from the Aston Martin, bit unwarranted from him, but he manages to do it safely. But looks, oh, he's getting squeezed a bit. Manages to do it. He's past one of them, but he's got another one to go. Oh my god, I have no clue who's going to win this. It really depends. It's a long lap. It's a 1:30s lap at the start. It comes down to 28 or 29, but it's going to be very interesting how the track feels at the end of this.
And no matter what, unless you're on those inters, I don't think it's going to feel too good at all. You can see that how they're holding it with the train Glowstick then, trying to get a move on A's, and Palmer has got the move on Sarah, and Glowstick has got the move on A's, and in fact he's going to have a run on Sofian now. Just those softs in the best of conditions, they're going to be a lot quicker. In these kind of conditions where the track's getting greasy, the tyres are getting a bit colder, it's really, really going to play dividends. Ross into the pits. I don't know if that's for a wing change for damage, or if it's purely strategic thinking it's going to absolutely chuck down, and he needs to get a set of inters on now. We'll wait and see. Palmer, though, crucially gapping Zara by 1.4 seconds now, 1.3. Of course, DRS, if it stays dry enough, will come into effect right on the last lap of this Grand Prix, but we'll wait and see if that is even a factor within it. But crucially, Josh, the intermediates not gaining any ground. That rolling 2.3 off the nearest car.
We can't forget, track temperature and location is actually quite a big influence on how the track feels when the rain comes along. So being in Miami, it's going to take a while for the track to get a bit cold for the slick runners. Yellow flag's there for Craigo, but I don't think it's going to pull our safety car out because it's too late, thankfully, because it would interfere with a madness, controlled madness, I'd say, that we've got going on at the moment. But Glowstick is really pushing along. He's used a lot of battery, but he's got such an advantage compared to the other tyres around him that Palmer's not gapping Lozano, he's gapping Glowstick. Glowstick is his biggest issue for a race win at the moment, especially if he gets past these two ahead of him pretty soon. Already in P4, five lap softs. He's going to be able to do another 2 easily at full pace, but he's going to have to get past these two instantly though. Needs to be done on this lap. Needs to give himself breathing space to catch Harry at the end, but it's going to be tight, very very tight. Apart from that, everyone else is in the mud behind him, so Harry's just going to be looking backwards, seeing that gap change, and it's getting smaller and smaller. Verona Flash retiring, as well as Craig on the same 2 laps, but he's getting close, Glowstick, but it's going to be very interesting if he can make that 1.8 difference to Palmer on the last lap.
Going to be assisted here by the DRS, which has enabled itself. I thought it would be next lap, the final lap before we get it, but we are getting here on the penultimate lap, lap 28 of 29 of this Miami Grand Prix. Glowstick up into P2 then, 1.5 seconds is the gap, and look, he's siphoned that 10th by 10th, almost a 10th every corner here, and he might just be able to squeeze up into DRS and try and get a run. Gets a little bit loose on the exit there of the left-hander down the back straight, and he's going to burn every little bit of battery he has to try and close up and get as much of a chance with the DRS here as we round the final few corners. It is going to be a 1-lap sprint. The shame for the intermediate runners that the gamble didn't pay off, but further behind there from the leaders, Lozano Sara having to defend for this podium from King Phi Panda, who is definitely in with a chance and a hunt. Got a little bit more ERS, does the Haas over the Alpine. We'll stick on board with this battle as they come into the first sector for the final time of this evening, and Sara has defended for the meantime. Let's jump on board with Glowstick though and look through this technical twisty first sector, just how quickly he is catching up. He is well within DRS range, he's well within overtaking range.
Well, the wetter and colder it gets, the better it is for Glowstick being on the softer tyre, and he's right there on the back of him. I don't even think he has to take him here, but he's gonna. Crucially, I think he was behind for that DRS line, and he's going to absolutely gap him here if Harry's not got the battery, and he doesn't. Equal play in terms apart from the DRS now, so Glowstick has just got to hope that Harry can't get the traction coming out of the last straight, and I don't think he's going to be able to because he can't do it here. I don't think he's going to be able to do it any later either. So I think, apart from penalties, if Glowstick gets lucky, I don't know what's actually happened or if he gets reported, this could be a win for Glowstick, miraculously after being at the back with the early safety cars. But 100% he's not getting overtaken here on the medium tyres. But for Palmer, this is still going to be an awesome drive for him, being on the rougher tyres on two parts of the race. And he's going to make his gap to Bailey quite the chunk with being in P2. Potentially P1 after reports, but we'll see. But Jesus Christ, Scott, what a race.
What a race indeed. Glowstick takes the win on track ahead of Palmer, gaining at least 25 points provisionally by those standards. Lozano Sara just creeps in and takes P3 by 87 thousandths ahead of King Phi Panda. Crucially though, still losing out points to Palmer in the race for the title. Wuban in P5 ahead of Polishman, Aizen and Safi, and it's Ferrari, Aston Martin for P5, 6, 7 and 8. Dat Roland, the first of the intermediate runners to cross the line. Mazzles and Ross coming up at the back here of our 11 runners. Crucially though, all getting some form of points at the end of this Grand Prix. Verona Flash, the last to retire in P12, did compete 90% of the race distance, so will get at least a point for finishing technically P12. But that has been the first Miami Grand Prix of the week, and what a way to kick the week off.
Yeah, that was quite a good race, I'll be honest. I've been busy all day, and I'm a bit knackered. I thought I'd just jump on to help you out, but I've really enjoyed that, and it's perked me up a bit. You got the Scottish flag there for Glowstick prematurely. We'll have to see what happens with stewards, but I'm sure no matter what happens with stewards anyway, he's going to be happy with potentially staying on the podium even after penalties. So Very, very good race from a lot of them. It's been awesome for being 15 drivers deep and missing a few. Being Miami quite a stagnant track to drive, they've really made a show out of it. So respect to all of them. I've enjoyed it. I'm thirsty. My throat's sore.
No, absolutely. All
Bailey
15.
talking crud as well, by the way, saying that you would have won this race by now a few laps ago. I think you put that in the chat. So
He
we'll see
did indeed.
how his return comes along.
We'll see how it goes. He is going to be 26 points, I believe it is, at least, of Palmer going into the penultimate round. Maybe even ooh, 32. We'll wait and see. But it is glow stick from Palmer, from Lozano, Sara, Panda in P4 ahead of Wuban, Polishman, Aizen, Sophia, Dat Roland, Mazzles, Ross, all of our finishers. Bonus point for CRL Polishman finishing in P6, getting the fastest lap of the Grand Prix at 1:31.175. Will we do some quick interviews, Josh? Are you in the mood for that?
If we can get him in, sure.
Let's see if we can. We'll quickly add our top three to the party. I don't know if Sarah will join us. I know Kevin on first night did have a little bit of mic issues, so maybe that's befallen his other half as well. But I'm sure the two TJT boys will be up for a chat of some point, of some sort anyway. So quickly get them added to the party.
What tier does Duel race in tier 3?
Tier 3, yes.
I'll tell you what, if they had two rigs, if I was him, I'd be shaking him in my boots. She's probably going to be up there in tier 3 at some point. If they had two rigs, it'd be fun to watch them race against each other.
I would genuinely, Kevin, if you're listening, I would pay for that to happen, to see Mrs. and Mr. Duell battle it out on potentially a Thursday night, maybe even next season. We'll wait and see. We do have the first of our podium sitters in, and it is the man that put his car in P1 at the end of this Grand Prix. It's the one and only TGT Glowstick. Jack, how are you doing tonight, mate?
Like, there's a whole load of emotions, because obviously I am in quali. I made a big mistake, accidentally blocked a bunch of people's laps, but I'm honestly, I didn't think I would win that at all. But even in the race, I had my incidents. Sorry to Ross for one, but yeah. I don't even know.
I've got to say, first of all, massive respect for coming in and just owning it and just holding your hands up. I suppose it'll be something the stewards will look in and we'll see the outcome. But we'll divert away a bit from that. We won't, question too much on what the stewards might or might dish out. The race itself, from our perspective though, it looked a pretty intense one. A lot of moves. We've seen a lot of battles, particularly between yourself and Palmer, very early doors. Of course, you both running on those hards, trying to stretch it out. Was there ever the point in your mind where you're thinking, right, let's try and work together here, Palmer. Let's try and stretch this gap in the mediums well. If there is no safety car, we can come back in this end. Or were you purely out there just, let's go racing?
Well, it's a bit of both, really. There's also that bit of friendship. So, I don't know if me and Harry were trying to do it, but we were trying to get away from the medium runners.
Leapfrog
I feel
it.
like. Yeah.
We did talk about that with you two just basically leapfrogging, using the DRS to just build that gap.
Yeah.
But I'll give you one question, and I'll leave you back with Scott. How come you didn't pit initially on the first safety car?
I feel like it would have been too easy, like too early even for the mediums, and I didn't trust myself to try and maybe make them last. But I still felt alright in the hards, so there's that. But I didn't see myself making the mediums last to the end if I pitted that early.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to go somewhere else for that sentence there, George.
No, I said I'd leave him back with you.
Fair
Come
enough,
on.
fair enough. Yeah, I suppose all really left for me, regardless of the incidents, you had some great pace tonight. We've seen some great pace, actually, particularly in recent weeks from yourself. I think even with that result, even if you do get P1 with Palmer having such a good result as well, it is mathematically out of the championship for you. But given how the season started, you've got to be happy with how your points haulers came in recent weeks, and it's maybe a little bit of what if we had this kind of pace at the start of the season, but no. All I've got to ask you left is Imola and, of course, Bahrain. Are you going to be able to keep the good times rolling, and are you confident of being up in the mix, even though the title battle is going?
Well, I'll be honest, I wasn't really focusing on the title anyway. But
Fair play.
it's like, as you say, it's like, what if I didn't have my broken controller at the start of the season and I had this pace? But honestly, I'm just happy with the points I've scored in the last races, and Imola, I'm okay with, and Bahrain, I'm looking forward to that race.
Is Imola next?
Season finale.
It is, yep.
Oh, I love Imola.
Yeah, looking forward to both races, and well done to Palmer, and yeah, and Lozano, I think it was, who came third.
It was, yeah. I'd just like to point out, by the way, I've made a huge mistake. That was last season that we ended at Bahrain, I think it was. It's actually Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Even better.
Where is
Yeah.
that little rat Harry anyway? Is he in the party?
He is not
Yeah, he
Harry. Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, he is.
Oh, here he is.
Get him
Well,
muted.
Harry.
How'd you feel about our race?
Shit.
Why?
Just the tyres at the end of the first stint weren't there. And then at the
Well,
end,
yeah, that's because you chose not to pit.
Yeah. Right. And then at the end, Jack on the softs. It's obviously not great last lap, and then getting overtaken. Doesn't make you feel great, but it is what it is.
It is what it is, but P2's wicked, and pending on Stewards reports, it might even jump you back up into P1. So we'll see how that goes. But your pace, annoyingly to say, it was wicked, and you held really good acumen when it came to overtaking as well. There were points where I was on commentary, and it looked like he was going to crash into the back of people. Your braking was just very precise on the back of all the tired cars, but. Were you worried a bit that you weren't going to be able to catch at the end when you was on the better tyres before the last safety car?
It was weird because I knew that there was drivers behind on softs, and obviously drivers on the same lap or mediums. But against obviously the hard runners, it felt quite nice. I thought I'd be able to get them at some point.
Yeah.
Brilliant drive. I know you're a bit disappointed, obviously, losing out on that. Potential on-track win, but given the state of the championship, Harry, you're 2 points clear going into this. You've outscored, obviously, Baza, who wasn't here tonight. You've outscored Sarah. You've also outscored Jack and Eason and everybody else that was sort of in the title fight with you. So you've stretched this gap, 2 rounds to go. Now, if my maths is correct, I believe your gap, it will be 26 points at least. That's if you do obviously finish and stick P2 as things stand. With only 62 available after tonight, Imola and Brazil, how's the confidence feeling? Of course, it's not over until it's mathematically over, but are you feeling confident for them tracks? Can you put in the results that you maybe need to clinch this title?
I'll be honest, I've had no confidence all season. Before every race and after every race, I've not had the greatest confidence, especially around like Miami and Imola. Especially, I'm not a fan of Imola. And then looking at Brazil, I had a race at Brazil a few days ago, and that didn't go too well. So, not looking good.
You say that though, but if you've had the whole season without confidence, well, I wouldn't say you're in a position. I don't think you should be doubting the confidence because even when you have came and raced in Tier 3 as well, you have shown some, as Josh would say, wicked pace. So, potential to clinch it next week. We'll wait and see. But I think that's all for the two of you from me. Josh, I don't know if you've anything else to add.
Let's cut it here. I feel sick without how many compliments we've given Harry Palmer already. Just cut it off.
Well, Harry,
brown nose for 5 minutes.
Harry, Jack, thank you for joining us. Congratulations on the results tonight. Josh, thank you for joining me in the comments box. It's been an absolute pleasure and a massive help. And it's always great to commentate alongside you. Make sure then anybody else that is still listening to us waffle, Tony and Leroy, yes, they're back together again. Don't ask me how. They're commentating Tier 5 right now. Go and give them some love and tell them they're not quite as good as me. Make sure then to tune back on Thursday where Glowstick, the man in the comms, the podium interview here, will be live with Tier 2, hopefully, alongside Jonathan. We will, of course, have our usual Tier 3 boys of AFL and Rob taking over the reins there, and hopefully Jamie will be back for Tier 1 with, who knows, some guest, the most likely. That is, of course, kicking off at 7:30 on Thursday with Tier 3, Tier 2 falling at 8 p.m. Jamie will hopefully be back for Tier 4. If not, it could be me. Who knows? We'll wait and see. This time next week where we get the second to last round, the penultimate round of the Season 9 Championship in Imola. I've been CRL Freefall. Thank you for joining us. Have a very good rest of the evening, a very good rest of your week. And party in the city when the heat is on all night, all day to the break of dawn.